American actor Gene Hackman, along with his wife Betsy, have been found dead in their home in New Mexico.
As the world processed the shocking news of Gene Hackman's passing, authorities wasted no time in launching an investigation into the circumstances surrounding his death.
That deemed the circumstances surrounding the couple's death to be, quote, suspicious enough in nature to require a thorough search and investigation.
At first glance, it seemed like a straightforward case. Hackman was a 95-year-old man who had lived a long and accomplished life. But as investigators began to piece everything together, some details raised questions. Did external factors play a role? And did something happen in those final days that no one was talking about? Join us as we explore the shocking discoveries that followed Gene Hackman's passing.
More details have emerged regarding the death of actor Gene Hackman.
The truth about Gene Hackman's death that no one saw coming. When Hackman was found dead, people began to look in the direction of his daughter, Leslie Ann Allen. And when you consider their reasons, you'll see how their speculations are not entirely off. She is one of Gene Hackman's 3 children. But unlike her father, not much is known about her. She has stayed out of the spotlight, and there are no widely available records of her personal or professional life. After the legendary actor was found lifeless on February 26, 2025, in their Santa Fe home, she assured the world that he was in excellent health. She had no doubts and no hesitation. Her statement was that Gene Hackman liked to do Pilates and yoga, and he was continuing to do that several times a week. So, he was in good health. She said it as if there was no room for question, and as if there was nothing to be concerned about the late actor. But the reality was far from what Allen described, and when the truth finally came to light, it didn't just reveal a misunderstanding, it raised suspicions. What was Leslie hiding? And why did she make it seem like everything was fine when it absolutely wasn't? You will want to watch this video to the end because the truth will leave you speechless. At first, nobody had any reason to doubt her. She was Gene Hackman's daughter, after all. Who better to know about his well-being? But as the investigation began, the truth about Hackman's condition was nothing like what Leslie had told the public. Betsy Arakawa, Hackman's wife, had also passed away days before him.
The cause of death for Miss Betsy Hackman, aged 65 years, is hantavirus pulmonary syndrome.
The cause of her own death was later found to be a disease transmitted by rodent feces. Suddenly, this was no longer just a tragic passing of an elderly couple. It was suspicious. Investigators had to come in. One of their discoveries was that Hackman had likely been alive for a full week after his wife's passing. He had been alone in their large home, possibly unaware that his wife had died. His Alzheimer's was so advanced that he may not have even understood what was happening. And then, his heart finally gave out. That's what the autopsy revealed. No external trauma, and no obvious foul play. But something still didn't sit right. Now people have started asking a different question. If Leslie Ann Allen knew her father so well, why did she say he was in perfect health? Leslie's statements started crumbling under scrutiny. She also mentioned that she was close to her father, but then she admitted something else. She hadn't actually seen or spoken to Hackman or Arakawa in months. She lived in California. They lived in New Mexico. That distance alone would have cleared all doubts except for the fact that she continued to insist she knew everything was fine, even when she didn't check in and had no way of knowing. And now, people wanted to know, was there a reason she was downplaying Hackman's condition? Also, after Hackman's death, one would have expected Leslie Ann Allen to step forward or clarify her statements. But instead, once her previous claims about her father's health were proven false, she was nowhere to be seen. It was as if she had completely retreated from public life. Her first public appearance since the news broke didn't seem like much. Following the deaths of Hackman and his wife, Leslie Ann and her sister, Elizabeth Hackman, were seen publicly for the first time and photographed together at a Denny's restaurant in Burbank, California, as they arrived for breakfast. Then those who had been close to Gene Hackman in his final months began to weigh in, and their accounts of the Hollywood legend's last days also painted a picture completely different from what Leslie Ann had painted. Close friends and family members revealed that Hackman's health had been declining for quite some time. His memory loss had become severe. His once sharp and commanding presence had faded, leaving him confused and frail. Betsy Arakawa, Hackman's wife, had reportedly been his primary caregiver. She had taken care of everything: his medications, his doctor's visits, and his daily routine. Also, she had shielded him from the public eye, ensuring that he had comfort in his final years. So why then had Leslie Ann Allen confidently said he was in perfect health? The deeper investigators dug, the stranger the situation became. Now there are also reports that Arakawa had stopped calling her mother and other family members by October of the previous year. At first, no one thought much of it. She had always been a private person. But then, as months passed and she still hadn't reached out, some family members began to worry. Something was wrong. And then there was Leslie. Despite claiming to be close to her father, she had not spoken to him in months either. She hadn't visited. She hadn't checked in. It was as if both women, one who had been taking care of Hackman and the other who claimed to know everything about him, had completely cut themselves off from the outside world. As weeks passed, public interest in the case didn't fade. If anything, it intensified. Authorities had assured the public that they were taking the case seriously. The cause of Hackman's death had been determined, but there were still too many unanswered questions. The public wanted more. Then came the sheriff's press conference. The authorities provided updates about the investigation. They reassured everyone that there was no foul play, at least none they could confirm at the moment. They spoke about Hackman's declining health, his wife's sudden illness, and the unfortunate circumstances that led to their deaths. But even after the press conference, the mystery remained. One of the first unusual discoveries inside the Hackman residence was the body of one of the couple's dogs. At first, there was confusion. The initial reports misidentified the dog, leading to uncertainty about whether it belonged to the couple at all. But once the correct identification was made, investigators had to ask, had the pet passed due to natural causes, or was there something more sinister at play? The next major factor that stood out was Hackman's medical history. Though he had largely lived a private life in his later years, certain health struggles had been well documented. One of the biggest incidents was in 2012 when Hackman was involved in a serious bicycle accident in Florida. He had been struck by a car, thrown off his bike, and left with injuries that, at the time, were believed to be minor. But anyone familiar with long-term health complications knows that such incidents can sometimes cause hidden damage, issues that may not manifest until years later. Given Hackman's age, could his passing have been linked to lingering effects from that accident? Besides, when forensic teams examined the couple's home, they found something else that raised concerns: a minor gas leak. Now, gas leaks are always a red flag. Exposure to even small amounts over time can lead to headaches, dizziness, confusion, and even unconsciousness. Could this have played a role in Hackman's condition leading up to his death? At first, it seemed like a possible explanation. However, after further testing, authorities ruled out gas poisoning as a factor. The leak wasn't serious enough to have caused serious harm, and there were no traces of carbon monoxide in the home. That meant investigators had to keep looking. And maybe the most concerning discovery in the house was the presence of pills near Betsy Arakawa's body. Immediately, this raised more questions. Were these part of a prescribed medication? Had she been taking them regularly? Or was there another reason they were found scattered near her? Keep watching. There's more to this. The investigation into Gene Hackman's death and his final public moments. To understand Hackman's final days, it's important to look at how he spent his later years. Unlike many Hollywood legends, Hackman had made a clean break from the industry. He hadn't just slowed down, he had fully retired. His last film, Welcome to Mooseport, came out in 2004. When asked about it in an interview with Larry King, Hackman made it clear, "I have the normal fear of passing away," he said. But he didn't disappear from TV entirely. His last on-screen appearance was a surprise cameo on a popular food show with Bay Area roots. In 2008, he popped up briefly on Guy Fieri's Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. a Food Network show that explores local eateries across the country. He retreated to Santa Fe, New Mexico with Betsy, where he focused on his hobbies and personal interests. His final public appearance had been years ago. A rare sighting in March 2024 showed him at Papa Dough, a well-known seafood restaurant. Hackman was seen in a hooded gilet, olive green trousers, sneakers, and a cap, leaning on a walking cane as he exited the venue. He looked frail, but carried himself with the same quiet dignity that had defined his entire career. That was the last time the world saw him alive. Gene Hackman's past statements about his health, Leslie's disappearance from the public eye, and her insistence that everything had been perfectly fine had all raised suspicions. For those who are wondering, there's no indication that she's suspected of murder. Authorities have found no evidence of foul play.
For Mr. Gene Hackman, aged 95 years, is hypertensive and atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease.
As of now, everything suggests that Hackman's passing was either due to natural causes or an accidental event rather than anything criminal. Alan's misleading statements at the start only led to speculations, and her choice to avoid the public eye after the truth came out only added more. At this point, all we know remains that Gene Hackman was found dead at his home in Santa Fe on February 26, 2025. But people couldn't help but wonder what had truly happened behind closed doors. Maybe Leslie Ann Hackman really did not know the truth. That is one possible explanation. She had already admitted that she had not spoken to her father in months. If she was not in regular contact, she might have simply assumed he was fine. After all, he had been private for years. Hackman and his wife lived a quiet and private life in the mountains outside Santa Fe, New Mexico. They built their home on 12 acres of land, choosing a secluded area where they could enjoy peace away from the public eye. Friends who knew them well described their relationship as deeply loving and filled with mutual respect. They were not ones for modern communication. It's reported that Arakawa rarely used a cell phone, preferring email when necessary. They kept to themselves, which made their sudden deaths all the more shocking. Friends were used to not hearing from them for stretches of time, but no one expected the tragedy that unfolded. Denial is another possibility. Sometimes people refuse to accept the truth even when it is right in front of them. Maybe she wanted to believe her father was still strong and independent. She might have convinced herself that, despite his age, he was still doing the things he loved, that he was still the man he had always been. People tell themselves things like that all the time, especially when they are not ready to face reality. There is also the idea that she was trying to protect his privacy. Gene Hackman was a man who valued his space. He had stepped away from Hollywood and never looked back. He did not make public appearances, and he did not seek attention. Maybe Leslie felt like it was her responsibility to keep it that way. If she had told the world he was in bad shape, reporters might have started digging. Cameras might have turned toward his home. Maybe she just wanted to keep that from happening. But then, why say he was in good health? Why go as far as to claim he was still doing Pilates and yoga several times a week? That part is harder to explain. If she had simply said she had not seen him in a while and was not sure, it would have made sense. But she spoke with confidence. She made it sound like she knew exactly how he was doing. And that is what makes people question it. Some believe she was trying to protect herself. If she had admitted she had not spoken to him in months, it might have raised eyebrows. It would have made people wonder why. Why had she not been checking in? Why had she been distant? Maybe she wanted to avoid that kind of scrutiny. Saying everything was fine kept those questions away. Then there is the possibility that she was just misinformed. Maybe someone told her he was doing well, and she believed it. Maybe she had an outdated picture in her mind of how he was living. But that would still not explain why she spoke as if she had direct knowledge. That is what made people doubt her. Whatever the reason, her words did not match reality. And when the truth came out, it left people wondering if it was just an honest mistake or if there was something more to it. Hackman and Arakawa's private life wasn't reclusive in an unfriendly way, though. They were simply private. When they did spend time with friends, they made it count. The couple enjoyed hosting at their home, where Hackman would often ask Arakawa to play classical piano pieces. She, in turn, was deeply supportive of his creative passions. Hackman lived humbly. He preferred small, intimate gatherings over Hollywood events. Arakawa, who co-founded a home decor store in Santa Fe, enjoyed bringing beautiful, handcrafted items to the community. Their life together was built on shared interests, art, and a love for the simple things. Hackman, at 95, had slowed down but remained active. He continued riding his bike up until a year ago. The news of their passing devastated those who knew them. Hackman was more than just an Oscar-winning actor. He was a man of many interests, an artist, a writer, a lover of history. He was known for his generosity, often donating artwork for charity auctions. His legacy in Santa Fe extended beyond his Hollywood career. The community has begun paying tribute to the couple, recognizing their contributions to the arts and their kindness as neighbors. They may have chosen a life away from the spotlight, but their impact on those around them remains undeniable. What do you think about the mystery surrounding Gene Hackman's passing? Do you believe there's more to uncover, or was it simply a peaceful ending for a private man? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the following video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.